Happy New Year! In this video, I'll be showing you a pure 12 build for the Wild Magic Sorcerer in Baldur's Gate 3. I thought this would be the perfect build to start the year off with because, much like the year ahead, lots of crazy stuff can happen and we can't predict any of it. So, the Wild Magic Sorcerer has wild magic surges that can happen. You roll a d20, and if you roll 20, you end up having one of these surges. Sometimes they're great, like getting Action Surge. Other times, you turn your entire team into cats and dogs and everything nearby. You can also enlarge or reduce your teammates, or even summon in a cambion. There's lots that can happen, and just want to get right into things here. The Tides of Chaos is amazing, so you can activate this to get advantage on your next ability check, but you have an increased chance of that Wild Magic Surge happening. This means that you can roll a 11 or higher, and you'll get the Wild Magic Surge to occur, so 50% chance roughly. There's also the Wild Magic that'll naturally happen, one in like a 5% chance when you cast a spell. We do have other ways to increase this later on in the game. Now, I'd recommend, if you're the face of the party, to grab Friends. If not, you can grab another spell here. I like to also have Mage Hand, because you can use this to throw healing potions to heal your team, or water bottles to double your cold and lightning damage, as dropping items are a free action. Firebolt is great as well, you can explode stuff. And I also like Ray of Frost to kite enemies around, and it applies a condition which can proc a lot of gear. Shocking Grasp is good too, though, to get away, and you can take that instead of one of these here. The spells that I would recommend at level 1, I always like to have Mage Armor, but I think here Shield is the way to go, and look for scrolls of Mage Armor, and then also having Magic Missile. This gives us guaranteed damage. We'll also then go with our stat spread. If you want, you can grab the Hag's Hair and go with a stat spread of something like this here, going 14 Dexterity, 16 Constitution, 17 Charisma. My preferred stat spread is actually to go with a 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, and then 16 Charisma. But if you have the Hag's Hair, take that up to 18. And always make sure you have the skill, proficiency, and persuasion, because yeah, if you're the face of the party, that's important. Level 2 gives us another spell. Now, if you want to just survive a little bit more, Mage Armor is really great. Giving you +3 to your armor class is huge. Thunderwave is another good spell because this can push back enemies. If you want to be a bit more offensive, that's the way to go instead of Mage Armor, but Mage Armor is probably the better choice in most situations, especially while leveling. Once we get up to level 2, we do get a very powerful choice here with our extended spell Meta Magic. Now, if you have any gear that'll proc off of you casting a spell, this will double all of that if you use it for 1 sorcery point. Extended spell is really good. It also can be used on Globe of Invulnerability in the late game. Early game like Crowd of Madness, it's a really good option. Twin spell is good because we can twin this on Haste later on in the game. And if you have Marka Heshker Staff, you can use this too, but I think early game Distance Spell to increase your spell's range by 50%, and Extended Spell are the best choices. Extended Spell, again, being able to be used on a lot of different gear and setups. Now, level 3 gives us the better meta magic, we'll get to in a second here. Hold Person and Scorching Ray are our 2 best choices here, but Misty Step and Mirror Image are good for a bit of defensiveness. I like the Hold Person, and then next level take Scorching Ray, or Scorching Ray and then take Hold Person the next level, because Scorching Ray will crit off Hold Person. We'll then take Quicken Spell here, which is amazing because 3 sorcery points for a bonus action spell. Not just a cantrip, but a full-on spell. So you can go Fireball, and if you have Haste, Fireball again. Now at level 4, we get the choice of another cantrip here, and I would recommend going with, we don't really need anything here. You could go with the Light or Minor Illusion. I really like Minor Illusion to group enemies together. Or Shocking Grasp. And for the spells, as mentioned, Hold Person's great, but you could grab Misty Step if you don't want Hold Person. And for the first feat, I always like to have the Sorcerer go first in combat, and Alert will just make sure you're basically going first every single turn. Alternatively, you can go with the Charisma increase here, and Warcaster is another good feat to hold your concentrations and get a reactions Shocking Grasp if a target runs by you, which is nice just for a bit of extra chip damage, as we don't have Counterspell yet, and we will in a very short amount of time, but Alert is a good feat just because I like to be able to go first in combat, especially as someone that can cast 2 spells. You can end combat before it even starts. Level 5 gives us our choice of Counterspell, Fireball, and Lightning Bolt. I always like to grab Counterspell and use Scorching Ray for damage at this point in the game, because Counterspell can really save your hide. But Lightning Bolt is my other preferred option, because as mentioned, you can use a Mage Hand to throw a water bottle to double the damage. Level 6 gives us our subclass ability, Bend Luck. This eats up 2 of your sorcery points, but you can give a target a 1d4 bonus or penalty to an ability check. This also can be used to increase or decrease the target's attack rolls and saving throws, but it uses your reaction. This is pretty good, honestly. It's situational, but it gives you an extra layer of strategy that the other sorcerers don't have. Lightning Bolt is my preferred option here, but Fireball is great, and Twinned Haste is really good. Just be mindful if your haste concentration breaks, you're in tough waters. Level 7 gives us one of the best spells here when we're using Extended Spell, because that 2 turns of ice becomes 4, and that's pretty much all the combat at that point. So you can start your first action off with this, and you're going to crowd control without having to hold a concentration. Confusion's a decent choice as well. Wall of Fire too, or you can even go back and take Fireball, but I like to just have Ice Storm at this point because it's great for crowd control. Level 8 gives us another choice here. Even something like Greater Invisibility has its uses too. Just getting stealth outside of combat's really nice. Haste and Fireball are good, but I think having Fireball is just good for enemies that are grouped up, and we don't have any other answer too. Our feat at level 8, I like to take the Charisma increase, better spell casting, never a bad idea. And then level 9, we get to take another spell with level 6 or 5 spells here, Cone of Cold being my top option. Hold Monster is great too in Act 3, because there's some fights that become a lot easier with that. But Cone of Cold with Water Bottles is 128 maximum damage potential. Kind of good. We gotta get another cantrip here. At this point, you could go with a Minor Illusion, or actually Bone Chill has some uses in this point in the game. One of these two. And then we'll take either Hold Monster or Insect Plague. Not many person's okay, but I think Hold Monster is kind of the move. And then we're going to be going with the Twinned spell here. This is even crazier with Marka Heshker, which you can get in Act 3, and if you use the Bolts of Doom, you can do a Chain Lightning to 2 enemies. Pretty overpowered. It uses 6 sorcery points, but it's just crazy. Controlled Chaos at level 11. Foes may suffer Wild Magic Surge while casting spells near your fluctuating magic. This is crazy because at this point in the game, you'll get comfortable with the Wild Magic Surges, and then you can use these situationally to make the enemies trigger these. Sometimes it's going to be a cambion, sometimes they get Action Surge. It's fun. I also want to point out that it says while casting spells near you. There's actually no range restriction whatsoever on this. So yeah, it can happen often. It also pulls from a shorter list of the abilities, like they don't get Fly, they don't get the Explosive Healing, they don't get Enchanted Weapons, they can't enlarge enemies, they can't become blurred. But they can get Action Surge, as I mentioned. That's one of the unfortunate things, is you gotta roll the dice. Sometimes the enemy gets a nice fat buff, but it's mostly going to be the negative effects. That's the best part. Is yeah, it's mostly, in my experience, it's like oftentimes the summon spells, but they all have an equal chance of happening. Just less of a list. And for level 11, we have 2 spells here that we want. Chain Lightning, obviously, because it's damage crazy, but Globe of Invulnerability. Now 3 turns is amazing. Combat's usually over by that. But an extended spell, 1 sorcery point, and you get 6 turns of a Globe of Invulnerability. For those that have issues with it, you can put on like the Boots of Striding or anything really that's going to help out. The Heldesk Boots in Act 3, when you get this, you can't be shoved around and you can just hold your spot. There's also the Ring of Free Movement, and there's a lot of other options we can go with, but this is one of the best spells in the game, and the extended spell is such a good option with that for meta magic. I like to take Chain Lightning though first because big number makes brain happy, and it's a very strong spell too. Can be doubled easily. Again, if you have Mage Hand, throwing water bottles. I would recommend at this point take Globe of Invulnerability. You can alternatively take Sunbeam or Eye Bite if you really wanted to, but I don't think there's anything better here than going with that. Eye Bite's only nice because you can hold the concentration for 10 turns and keep putting people to sleep, which is kind of nice, but I don't think it's our best option. And for the final feat, we can go with an increase to our Charisma to max it out. Lucky fits thematically here because this will give us luck points that we can use to fix our rolls here, giving us advantage to roll another die. And this saves us from using our reaction and sorcery points, but it does kind of overlap. Warcaster, as mentioned, is a really nice choice as well. And even Spell Sniper to take Eldritch Blast and get increased critical hit chance is good. But I just think that getting that Charisma increase is just my preferred way. And this outfit is from the Hyperspace Collection Volume 2 on Nexus Mods. And as far as gear goes, the Hat of Fire Cutie is the single best item for really any spellcaster. Scorching Ray to get a +10 to your spell save DC and never miss again. You could alternatively use the Birthright, but this Fire Cutie hat is so good. You can also use the Hat of the Storm Scion's power for a Thunder version of that, but Scorching Ray doesn't have a Thunder equivalent, so it's not as good. And then also, you could use a Pyro Quickness hat to get an extra bonus action if you use a fire spell. Being mindful that burning yourself, you should use the Heldesk Armor to prevent yourself from losing your concentration because that's taking damage. And an Act 1 option is the Haste Helmet, which gives you increased movement speed, which is nice on a sorcerer for positioning. Cloak of Protection, you can really use whatever here. The Cloak of Absorption, or if you're the Dark Urge, you can use that. Robe of the Weave, great choice. The best early game would be the Jolty Vest, which you can get in Act 1. It's a little bit later into the game. There's no good clothing at the start of the game. Alternatively, you could do a multi-class into the cleric to get heavy armor and take some like the adamantine scale mail. I know this build is pure 12, but you can dip into the Tempest for heavy armor and medium armor if you wanted to. Another good option would be if you're playing as like a Gith or a Shield Dwarf, Armor of Agility can still be used with a high armor class. Potent Robe, if you get to Act 2 and you're not dirging it up, is a good choice, giving your cantrips charisma modifier extra damage. But Robe of the Weave is a good late game option. Now, the rest of the gear, Luminous Gloves, is going to proc off of the Callous Glow Ring. So this is kind of a combination. We're going to use the Callous Glow Ring when we're illuminated, 2 extra points of radiant damage, which procs Radiating Orbs 2 turns, protecting our teammates, giving -2 to the attack rolls. Basically, everyone gets a boost to their armor class effectively. And then this will trigger our Boots of Stormy Clamor, giving Reverberation, which we can then end up knocking the enemies prone. It's great. If they do that on their turn, they lose their turn. And we're also going to use a Coruscation Ring to further apply Radiating Orbs. We're a good attacker, debuffer, spellcaster combo. You could alternatively use like Wondrous Gloves for more armor class, or even like the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies there. For boots, you could, as mentioned, use the Helldusk boots there to not be moved by anything. And even Disintegrating Nightwalkers are good in Act 1. The Boots of Striding from Ninthara could work too if you take the Tempest Cleric. And we also got the Hellrider Longbow for the +3 to our initiative there. And then also Peconi's Walking Fortress and Marka Heshker. Because with Marka Heshker, you got the Kareska's Favor, Bolts of Doom. And then what's silly is Twinned Meta Magic works on Chain Lightning for double Chain Lightning. Yeah, that is a thing that happens in this game. It's crazy. I know what you're thinking. Chain Lightning's sometimes harder to land. Well, that's not really our problem anymore because we got Scorching Ray. And Scorching Ray is pretty absurd because we're going to be using this to use Radiating Orbs on everybody. If you have medium armor proficiency from like a dip into a cleric or something, you could then use the Luminous Armor to spread them even further. And yeah, you're going to see the damage here. We rolled a critical miss. We can use our Tide to Chaos charges to turn misses into hits if we wanted to. So yeah, there's a few misses there, but we were able to do a bit of fire damage. We had a Wild Magic Surge too. Enchant the weapon of a creature within 6 meters. So yeah, we can then get enchanted weapons here. The next attack with this weapon is a crit, and it deals an additional 1 to 4 force damage. That's pretty nice. We're not much of a melee attacker, but our teammates can take advantage of the free crit and extra damage. Awesome stuff. And what's even crazier, we didn't land a lot of shots, but we got our +6 to spell save DC. We could have got up another +4, but this helps a lot when we try to do some other things like our twinned Chain Lightning. This is really powerful, so you don't have to do this because, yeah, we're going to eviscerate everything in front of us here. And also, if that didn't kill, that would have gotten us a lot of Radiating Orbs. But yeah, everything chained around and just one-shot everyone there. Kind of absurd. We still get a bonus action, though. That's the nice thing. It's Quicken Spell, lets us then go ahead. And if we wanted to, we could then do another Chain Lightning. It's kind of absurd, yes, I know, but that's the thing. Well, turn 1. That's why I said the alert is so good. Well, yeah, the Sorcerer is the most broken class in Baldur's Gate 3, especially if you're using Marka Heshker. So, yeah, if you want to make the game a little bit easier, Wild Magic's the way to go. I didn't get to show off a lot of the Wild Magic Surges, but yeah, we had one occur there at random, which is kind of nice. So you can give yourself those Ben Luck bonuses if you want to at any time. It's kind of nice. And I'll just quickly go through a list of them all, courtesy of the Baldur's Gate 3 wiki. Action Surge, Blur, Burning, Cambion Summon brings in a Cambion that you can fight, kind of like the Planner Ally. Cats and Dogs, my favorite. Enchant Weapons, which we saw, free crit. Enlarge, Reduce, Entangle, Explosive Healing, Flight, Fog, which creates a fog cloud around you. Polymorph, which is hilarious, turning someone into a sheep. Resilient Sphere, Shield, Slow, Sorcery Points, which is actually absurd until the end of your next turn. Each spell you cast restores sorcery points equal to a spell level, which you saw me cast a Chain Lightning there, level 6, which gives you that back, and we cast it twice. Spike Growth is kind of funny. The Method's also useful. Swap is the most comedic one, swapping places with someone. Teleport, Turn Magic, Telekinesis. It's fun. Try this subclass. It's one of my favorites in Baldur's Gate 3. I love Sorcerer in general. Shadow Magic's probably my true favorite, but this one's amazing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next video.